So let's talk about the cyber landscape. So, unfortunately, today, probably about 5 to 7 years ago, we probably wouldn't have been able to say this, but the gap between the number of breaches in large enterprises and SMBs has really, not only has it shrunk, but it's really made a complete flip-flop, right? Back in the day, it used to be the large organizations that were attacked, but now, really, if you look at some of these stats, like from the University of Maryland, 82% of ransomware actually targets SMBs. And I don't know if all of you were on the other call, but we've talked about AI in the past, and AI is actually making it even easier for them not just to target a wide range of SMBs, but to actually target specific SMBs or target specific people. And when I say SMBs, we're talking small to mid-sized businesses. We love our acronyms. I have to remember to translate those for everyone. So I like to use reputable sources. This is the latest version of the Verizon Data Breach Investigations Report. I know you all have heard of Verizon. You may not have heard of the Data Breach Investigations Report, but what Verizon has to say about breaches is that there are three main ways that threat actors are taking advantage of you. One of those is credentials. One of those is phishing, and one of those is exploit vulnerabilities. Now, if you look at the pretty graph on this screen, you'll see between those, that is nearly all cyber attacks. Credentials being the largest, which is about 40%. And that is definitely what we see here at ConnectWise across our customer base. And I would venture to say it's probably what you guys see as well, Chuck, wouldn't you say?
Yep.
Yep. So we'll talk a little bit more about the phishing because that is really a high value to the threat actors, not to us, a high value proposition for them, right? Another important thing to point out on this, that exploit vulnerabilities has seen 180% growth since 2023. Now, exploit vulnerabilities, you can think of those as errors or misconfigurations or flaws in code, which may not have been a flaw at the time it was developed, or maybe the flaw was discovered later, but there have been some pretty prominent exploit vulnerabilities last year. Change Healthcare, a few years ago, it was SolarWinds. There's been a few. So what that should tell you is it's really important to understand what software and what hardware you're bringing into your environment, and to understand those vendors, what type of security measures they're applying. So third-party risk. So it's really important to understand that and to make sure you're doing the basics like patching your hardware, patching your software. If you have an Apple device, there's been a couple of high priority, for your Apple devices, there's been some high priority patches lately. So if you just updated your Apple device, guess what? Update it again. Now, I want to concentrate on this. This is the FBI. They also they have what they call the IC3, which is the Internet Crime Complaint Center. And it sounds cooler to say IC3. So, and they also report on different types of complaints and different type of losses. Now, you do have to remember that as large as these numbers are, these are probably a little skewed because these numbers only come from when someone picks up the phone or files an online report with the Internet Crime Complaint Center, not necessarily the local FBI office, and definitely not if it was reported through some other source, right? And I want you to notice here, I want to talk about business email compromise for a second, because this is the perfect reason why you would want to implement zero trust, right? You'll see that business email compromise complaint count is a little far down the list, right? But let's look at that by complaint loss now. When we look at business email compromise by complaint loss, that is almost $3 billion. That is huge, 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 huge. And we haven't seen any trends of this changing. And like I was saying about artificial intelligence, it's making it harder to tell whether emails are real or not. We're going to have to start picking up the phone and calling people at good known numbers to make sure we're not just willy-nilly changing wire transfer information or paying to new vendors or new addresses or new PO boxes or whatever. We're really going to have to pay attention. And I want to show you this chart, which is also from the FBI report. And I want you to see that that each attack that this is the second most costly vector is business email compromise. It's about 4.88 million US. Second most costly attack vector. So we're looking at cost and frequency in this graph here. And then one more, I want you to see what the median transaction size is. Because remember, this report is reporting on all different types of businesses. And this comes from a combination of information from the FBI IC3 report and the IBM cost of a data breach report. And this is a median size of 50K. Now, I would venture to guess, and I think I'd be safe to guess this, that many small to mid-sized businesses, if you had a $50,000 loss, that could be business ending. Not just because of the dollar amount, but also because of reputation damage. Do you have something to add there, Chuck?
I was just going to say, yeah, that would be a massive hit for a small business. And then, like you said, too, with just the compromise to the brand awareness and customer retention, it has long-lasting effects.
Yes, unfortunately, it really does.